Hey, this is Sean Hall with Elevation Officials Training. I thought we'd take a in-season look at some officials that are really making their way in the game of basketball. So originally, we've done some speaker series engagements, preseason and pre-summer camp in the fall and the spring. And I thought it'd be an interesting time to be able to look at a group of officials that are taking the game by storm and that are really making strides in the game of officiating. So, as we begin the conference season in college basketball, I thought it'd be great to bring in these aspiring officials, both NCAA men's and women's officials, to give us a fresh perspective, say that twice, on their journey. And over the next 5 or 6 weeks, we want to hear from these up and coming officials. And I thought it'd be a great place to start with inviting Kara Hunter in to be able to join us today. And Kara, welcome and thank you for taking the time to spend with us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you today.
Awesome. So let's just jump right in, Kara. Tell us a little bit more about how you got started in this wonderful game of officiating basketball.
Yeah, sure. So I really got my start with intramurals while I was in graduate school at NC State University. Someone pulled me aside and asked me if I would be interested in officiating, and I reminded them quickly I got cut from my middle school basketball team, so wasn't really sure that this was going to go well. But I'd take a swing at it and see how it worked out. I don't really like being bad at anything, and I was really bad at first, so got pretty motivated to work hard and really dedicate quite a bit of time to the craft. In moving to Baltimore for a job, right after grad school, I actually found Sean, your camp, and that's really where my career kicked off. I had worked one season of JV high school basketball in North Carolina, moved up here, found your camp, came to your camp the day that I moved to Baltimore, which was pretty crazy. Didn't even have stuff in my apartment yet, and I'm at a basketball camp, if that tells you anything about my personality. And that was my start. You connected me to a bunch of other camps that really helped get me going in college basketball, but on the women's side, which was exactly where I needed to be then. And so that was 2017. 6 years later, here we are working a lot of Division I women's basketball, and just hoping to continue to grow my career.
So set the stage right now. What conferences are you working?
Yeah, I work in the ACC. This is my first year in the ACC, Big East, A10, Colonial, MAC, Ivy, pretty much everything on the East Coast in women's college basketball. And I'm actually in my second season of working men's college basketball as well at the Division II and III level.
Awesome. I really want to make sure we come back to that. But before we do, when did you know that you wanted to further explore officiating? Like you started in intramurals, you relocated, and you're still learning about it. What is it that grabbed you and really made you become passionate about it?
Yeah, I think it's the challenge every night, right? To be thinking on the fly, to be adjusting to the scenario. You never know what you're going to walk into in a basketball game. You can prepare and watch film. You can do your homework on coaches and teams. You can do all of that, but as soon as the ball gets thrown up, it's on, and you got to be able to make some fast decisions. And I think I thrive in environments where I'm being challenged. And it's a new challenge every night. So I think that's really what's kept me super motivated to continue my career, and what will keep me motivated, hopefully, for another 20 years.
Sure. So, in your journey thus far, what are some of the important nuggets that you've learned? Some things that you've really tucked away in that toolbox, and you said, you know what, I'm gonna pay attention to this. I'm gonna use this in the future.
Yeah, I would say staying a student of the game. We can get better every single time. Every time that you think you have a great game, there's something you can still learn from it. There's still some plays that we didn't get right. There's positioning that we can do differently. And so I would say staying a student of the game allows us to continue to grab onto new nuggets that make us better. The game is ever changing. Student athletes are getting faster, stronger. We have women dunking now in some of our games, which is really exciting. And so as the game progresses, we have to progress with it. And I think consistently staying a student helps us do that.
So staying a student, the things you do in the summertime, the things you do during the season, talk to us a little bit more about that, whether it's
Yeah.
being in the rule book or video. What are some of those things that you found that you've been able to use?
Definitely. I would say number one for me has always been like fitness, right? I'm really passionate about fitness and eating well, but we have to be able to keep up with the athletes that we're refereeing and look the part. That's definitely a huge component. Yes, staying in your rule books and watching film. I don't think there's a week that goes by in season or off season that I'm not watching film from previous games that I've worked. Because that's how we get better, is like true self-assessment and having people around you that you can, a small group for sure, but that you can bounce ideas off of and share plays with, to help you self-assess, right? To watch your own film all the time gets a little bit stagnant, but when we can do that in small, trusting groups, that can really elevate our game. From a off-season summer perspective, I'll be the first to admit that I've probably gone to way too many camps over the years, and it worked out for me. But something I've always committed to is at least one teaching camp a summer. So it's great to go to hiring camps. It's great to get new contracts, but going to a camp with no pressure to get hired, and allow yourself to just learn and get better has been really huge. And that kind of started with EOT back in 2017. And I've returned to EOT a couple times after that year, and I've gone to some other camps as well. But that is one way to stay a student of the game, is just dedicating yourself to a teaching camp every summer, not just hiring camps.
And I think that's really, really important. For it seems like the number of officials or the people that are interested is really growing. It's growing
Oh, for sure.
dramatically. So, it's that person that played basketball in high school or college that's coming out, and instead of maybe looking at the coaching ranks, they're looking to officiating as, a possible hobby avocation to consider. So speak to those individuals that are 23, 25 years old. They've done high school for 3 to 5 years. What would you say, planning wise, how should they go about the process if they wanted to consider, working in college?
Definitely. I would say find a good mentor. And that might come from a teaching camp, that might not, but have someone that can be real with you about where you should go. You never want to go to a camp and get exposed because you're not ready to be there. Um, I probably went a year too early to a couple of the camps before I had found some good people to tell me not to. And that could have been really bad for my career. I got lucky, and they saw potential and they weren't ready to hire me yet, and that was okay. But had I not performed, yeah, if I performed even worse than I did then, they might not have ever given me a second look, right? And so we don't want to think, oh, I worked this JV high school playoff game, I'm ready to go to the ACC camp, right? Because I got selected into that. And not saying that you're not ready, but we might need to do some self-evaluation of where we should go first. There's steps along the process, and if you don't know, you need to have someone that you can trust to ask. And so I would say finding a good mentor can be step one in the process of knowing where to head next.
Awesome. Awesome, Kara. Very good items to consider. So you mentioned earlier that you are currently working men's and women's.
Yeah.
And so very proud of you for doing that. But talk to us a little bit more about the elements of that. I mean, that dynamic must be difficult because there's two separate different rules and everything. But give us your thoughts on that, especially for, individuals that may be interested in doing the same.
Yeah, I would say the rules is the easy part. So let me back up. I have been climbing on the women's side, and I don't want to ever step away from women's basketball, but I felt like I needed to see faster play, stronger players, bigger players in order to prepare for getting into Power Fives for women's basketball. And so a supervisor on the East Coast came to me and invited me to his camp. I was really excited, and I was like, this might be the opportunity that I need to see those faster, stronger, bigger players and in a game at a faster speed in order to prepare for women's college. And so went to the camp, got a contract, really excited. And I was like, let me make sure my supervisors on the women's side are going to be okay with me working both. Asked them, kind of shared with them why I'm doing it, what my process was going to be. And then got the okay, cool, signed the contract, really excited, got to work some really awesome games this past season, and looking forward to working more. And it's definitely helped. I worked a year of men's college last year and then got my Power 5 contract. So it definitely, the process and the strategy paid off. It is difficult to work both. The rules are one thing, but I'll say player personnel management and communication is the biggest difference from the women and men's game. And I've talked with some people. I think, Sean, you and I've even had a conversation about like the way we engage and interact. That has to shift night to night. And so just being where your feet are is really important, and being present again in preparation before that. For me, I needed now to find a mentor on the men's side as well as the women's to make sure that I'm doing things correctly in the men's games and in the way that my supervisor would want on that side as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Kara. That was really, really good and comments. So in closing, talk to us a little bit more about what you see in the future. The game of basketball has definitely changed in the last 5 years, 10 years, things of that nature. With the group that you're interacting with, what do you see? What are you guys talking about? And what do we see coming forward in the future?
Yeah, I think we are seeing players at a much higher caliber. And I think NIL and the transfer portal are definitely having an impact on what we are doing as officials. I think I've always heard that the NBA is a players' league and college basketball has always been a coaches' league. And I think we're seeing a shift in that, where players have a little bit more autonomy and control over their careers as student athletes now, with both the transfer portal and the NIL. And so as we think about the way that we engage with both players and coaches and do our jobs as referees, that has to shift to stay with the trends that we're seeing in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Well said. Well, Kara, we really appreciate you taking time. We know you're on the road heading to another game, but we appreciate you taking time to share with us. It's really going to benefit the community and the people that are in the elevation officials training, trying to get 1% better each and every day. So we do appreciate you taking time out. We wish you well as the conference season continues to evolve, and hopefully we'll see you in the NCAA tournament.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay, take care.